everyone, this is Brian from ActiveMelody.com. Well, this week we're going to take a look at a guitar instrumental, which is kind of a bluesy, jazzy, big band sounding thing. There's a lot of influences that go into this style of playing, and this is played in the key of A. And I'm going to show you how to play everything that I played in the intro, note for note. Now, I've got this video split into two parts. This is kind of a common format that I'm doing now. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the first half. If you want to watch the second half and learn how to play all of that, along with the tablature and the jam tracks that you're going to need to practice, so it's an MP3 file that you can play along with that has the band minus the part that you have to play, just go to ActiveMelody.com and look for EP051. That's the lesson number for this lesson. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first part. Okay, so we are in the key of A for this, as I mentioned in the intro. And so when I play an A bar chord, wherever my bar is, that's the root fret. And so you're going to always hear me refer to the root fret. And that's kind of your anchor or your home base when you're playing lead, or at least that's the way that I think of it. And I explain what the root fret is in the blues lead course at ActiveMelody.com. If you're not sure what that is, or also you're going to hear me refer to pattern 1 in the minor pentatonic scale. All of that's explained in that course. So check that out if you haven't, if you're new to playing and you're trying to understand the whys behind some of this stuff. Or why it works, rather. So the first thing in pattern 1 of the minor pentatonic scale in the key of A, it looks like this, right? So you can visualize that where my fingers are going. Now, so that's cool. But if you'll notice, the first thing that I do in this first lick when I play this lead is I go. Now, a couple of things. You're going to notice that that note, the 6th fret 3rd string, is not in the minor pentatonic scale. See? We skipped that. And then I played the 7th fret 2nd string as well. That's also not in the minor pentatonic scale, pattern 1. See, look. So you're thinking, I'm sure some of you are thinking, wait a minute, what is that? What kind of scale are you playing from? What I'm doing, and this is something that that Freddie King does really well, and a lot of players do, but is I'm jumping between the minor pentatonic scale and the major pentatonic scale. I'm kind of blending the two. You get this hybrid thing, and to the listener's ear, it's not too bluesy. It's not real sad, but it's not real happy. You know, it's also not real, too chintzy sounding. So it's just a hybrid, really, of those two sounds, and I think that creates a really cool tension. Last week I did a Freddie King lesson where I did a lick, that lick, and so check that out. That's EP050 if you're curious about what that is at ActiveMelody.com. But anyway, that's what's going on there when Freddie does a lick like that, or when I do this lick in the intro. You're jumping between the major and minor. It gives it that kind of big band sound. So let me explain what I mean by that too, and then I'll break down the notes. Sorry, I like to digress a little bit, but I think it's helpful when you're learning. It's not good to just memorize notes. You have to understand why they're working, and then you can take it in your own direction. But so when I play this 6th fret 3rd string, where does that come from? Well, let me show you. The major pentatonic scale. The easiest way that I think of the major pentatonic scale is really easy. It's when you think of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, da, when you hear that, that's the major pentatonic scale. So for the key of A, what I do is I take the pattern 1 and I slide everything down 3 frets. And you'll hear me refer to that a lot. And when I do that, that puts me in position to do this. See, there's that do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, da. And you can see what I'm doing. This note, this note, this note, this note, this note, this note. Those are all in the minor pentatonic scale pattern 1. They're just shifted down 3 frets. So when you do that, when you add those two notes, you're playing the major scale. So that's where that comes from. So you can start to dissect this. So now when I had that note in there, well, you think, well, where is that in the major scale? So see, there it is right there. So that's that note. So it just happened to be kind of mixed into the minor pentatonic scale pattern 1. So what I'm doing is I'm finding, you start to find where those major scale notes are. If you've got a major scale note somewhere nearby, you can play it a lot of times if it's in a major key. Now, if it was a minor key song, that would not work. You could not play that and make it sound right. But if it's it's kind of a happy, upbeat thing. You can work in major scale stuff. You can work in minor. Minor will make it sound bluesier. Major will make it sound happier. So hopefully that makes sense. So that's where this note. So this note is where that note comes from. Now when I play the 7th fret, so when I play this note, that's this note. So that's where that's coming from. Okay, so that's a little context. I know it's a digression, but now let's get into breaking down the notes. So the first thing that I play is a hammer-on. So I start on the 3rd string on the 5th fret, and I pick it once, and then I do a hammer-on with my middle finger to the 6th fret, 3rd string. Then I come up here to the 2nd string on the 5th fret. Now, from this point forward, for the next several notes, you're going to notice that my pointer finger stays locked down. So just remember, once you hit that note, this finger, just keep it kind of locked down. I'm going to come up here and play the 7th fret, 2nd string. That's that major note that I explained. I'm going to take the 7th fret off, so then I'm back to the 5th on the 2nd string. So thus far, slowly, we have... Now I'm going to take my ring finger. Now some of you may want to use your pinky for this. It's just easier for me to do my ring finger. But I come up here to the 8th fret, 2nd string. And you can hear how that sounds kind of bluesier because we're back in the minor pentatonic scale. See, this one's happy, sad. That's an easy way to think of it. Now we're going to take that finger off and we're back playing the 5th fret, 2nd string. We're back to the 2nd fret, 7th fret, 2nd string, and then back to the 5th fret, 2nd string. So let me do all of that slowly. What we have is, keep your eye on this finger. Watch it just stays down. And what that does, by this staying down, this allows you to jump around here and be able to play those much quicker. Now, if you were taking your finger off the fretboard, there'd be too much of this action, and it would, there's just not necessary. Now, the other thing to point out is the right hand. So the first note, I'm just picking once, and I'm doing the hammer-on to create the 2nd note. Now, after that, I'm going to come up here and watch my right hand. You can see it's just alternate picking. So I go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And you're going to want to alternate pick as much of this as you can. For those of you that are beginning, your natural inclination is going to be to play downstrokes. Just downstrokes, but it's very inefficient. There's too much action to try and hit each downstroke. There's a time and a place for a downstroke when you're strumming or something, but for the most part, if you're playing lead, you're going to always want to be taking advantage of the upstroke that you're already doing. You have to get back up so that you can do another downstroke. So you might as well hit a note on your way up, right? It's much more efficient. So now after that, then I come down and I play the 7th fret, 3rd string, then back to the 5th fret, 2nd string. So we have... Okay, now after that, I'm going to take my pointer finger now, which has been resting for a while, and I'm going to come up and play the 3rd string on the 5th fret. And then I'm going to play the last note there as I use my ring finger on the 7th fret, 4th string. Now notice when I hit that 3rd string on the 5th fret, I pushed it slightly sharp. And you can see what's happening, and you'll see me do that all the time. Anytime I'm hitting that note, if I'm playing a blues or whatever, I'm always going to slightly push it sharp. And the reason for that is if you think of what you did to start this lick, you know, you started by going right into, now you fretted that by, you know, going right to that 6th fret 3rd string, but when you push it slightly sharp, you're kind of simulating that a little bit. You're not going quite to the note, but you're giving it just enough to give it a little twang. And that is, those little nuances, and I say this a lot, but those are really what make you sound good. It's a lot of times people get confused. They think it's playing really fast or something flashy that makes you sound good. But I think in the end, if you boil it all down, sift through all of that. I mean, that's cool, I guess, and there's a time and a place for it. But it's those little, you know, it's like the vibratos and doing the bends and doing you know, doing a slight bend there. That's what the human voice would do. And so the wobbling and the vibrato, you're just simulating the voice when you're playing lead. So just keep that in mind. All right, so that's what we have thus far. We have let me do that slower. Now after that, then what I did was I came up and hit this little upstroke. And I'm just barring, I'm really just trying to play the first 2 strings on the 5th fret. If you happen to grab the first 3 strings, that's okay, but it's just, you're just trying to, you do an upstroke and hit those 2 notes. You don't have to do that, it just gives it a rhythmic quality. So you can hear how it fits in when you're playing it up the tempo. And with the jam track, it'll make even more sense. So that's all I'm doing there, just barring the first 2 strings, just a quick upstroke. And it's important that that's an upstroke, not a downstroke. Now the second time through, I went. So the first part of it's the same. So those first 5 notes are the same. But then what I did is I went. And for that, I'm just keeping my pointer finger down on the 5th fret 2nd string, but I take my ring finger up here to the 8th fret 2nd string and I slide. I do a slide down, then I do a pull off, and then a hammer on. So what you're doing is you're doing a slide, pull off, hammer on. So let's do it slowly. We hit the note, slide, pull off, and a hammer on, and the hammer on goes to the 7th fret 3rd string. So notice I'm just picking that once, and just play with that. It may be hard in the beginning, but just remember, keep this anchored down, and when you're pulling it off, you'll flick it a little bit with your finger. And that's what gives you that sound. And when you're plugged in with a little amplification, it sounds fine. You can do that on an acoustic guitar too, though. I mean, that's a technique that once you get it down, you'll use it all the time. Then to end that, I just played on the 5th fret 2nd string. Now after that, then I went and did. You remember how we did the upstroke? The one upstroke that I did there before that lick. The second time through, I bar the first 3 strings on the 7th fret and play those, and I do an upstroke. Actually, I do 2 upstrokes. So you go up, up. And the reason you don't want to do a downstroke is it's too hard to get accurate when you're playing it that fast. And the notes are at the top anyway, so you might as well just do them on an upstroke. So now, why those notes? You know, I'm sure some of you are going, why would you fret those 3? If you think about the chord structure, and you can see the chords notated in the tab, by the way. I put those, and I'm going to start doing that in all the tabs. I've done it on some, but I haven't been. I need to make sure that I do that on everyone. But anyway, if you're looking at the chord structure, you're playing it's in the key of A. So the first chord is that A, and then it goes to the goes to the E part. And the reason that these work is if you're thinking of playing an E, anytime I'm playing an E in blues, I always know that I can bar the first 3 strings on the 7th fret, and you get this kind of nice like 9th sound. You think of that chord, that's really all you're doing, you're just playing the top end of that. And you can do all this cool stuff when you think of playing an E chord in blues. Instead of just playing a chord, like the way that you may think of it down in first position, think of it up here, you can slide in and go, or slide up to it. And then you can, so when you think of that, then you can go to the, the D chord, so you can, it just gives you some different ways to play that chord. So that's what I'm doing. And that's really more of a James Brown. That's when I think of this chord, I think of whoever the guitar player was for James Brown. But they would use that chord in funk, and you hear that used in funk a lot because it's real easy. It's a rhythmic chord. You can do stuff like that. So okay, let's come back to the song. So here's what we have thus far. Now we repeat it. Now and then so that's just a repeat, and then I play. I love that. I don't have a clue where that came from. So if any of you know, leave it in the comments. I'd love to know where that comes from. But so I'm starting here. Again, on the 5th fret, 3rd string, we're just doing that hammer on. Then we're going to come up to the 5th fret, 2nd string. Then ring finger down the 7th fret, 3rd string. So we have. Now we're going to do the hammer on again. So let's play all of that. So we have. Then I'm going to come down and play the 7th fret, 4th string. Now here is the leap, so we're going to go from the 7th fret 4th string to the 4th fret 4th string, and then back to the 7th fret 4th string. So all together, slowly, we have. So you can see that's kind of a jump, and honestly, I think if you may want to play this 7th fret 4th string with your pinky. Some of you may want to. I just don't use I use it some, but I don't use it often. I always get ripped on that. But that's how I do it. So anyway, that's the point, is to make that little gap. And the reason that works is because, again, we're going down to that major scale. Okay. You could do, you could just play, if you wanted to give it a little bit of a bluesier sound, just don't go down to the 4th fret, go to the 5th fret, and you can see that works because it's in a minor pentatonic scale pattern. Okay, so now after I play that, what I did is I came up here and just played the A chord. Now I played it like this, and you could play a bar chord, or you could just play the first 3 strings. Really what you're trying to do, I think in the intro I just grabbed the whole chord. But what you're really trying to do is play, to bar the first 2 strings on the 5th fret, and play the 3rd string on the 6th fret. It's the first 3 notes of the A chord here. So you think of the bar chord, A chord, that's all you really need out of it. Now it's just easier for me. I come up here and go ahead and grab these other 2 strings, which are the 4th string and the 5th string on the 7th fret, and play it like that. It's just like you play an F chord. You learn an F chord down in first position. It's the same shape instead of using the bar. And some people, when they play that, they take their thumb and they wrap it over to hit that. To hit that string. I can't. My hand isn't big enough for that. But I've seen players do that. So, and again, that's just 2 upstrokes. It's just like you did when you played the E part. It's 2 2 upstrokes to get you back. And it just loops from there. So let me go ahead and play the whole thing. We have... and it just repeats. So let me, just as a quick reference, I'll give you a slow version, and that'll wrap up this first part. So here's the real slow version.